And that's how I almost didn't get back from LA.
Whoa. Okay. I'm so glad you're here.
I know. Oh my god. That was fun. Yeah. Oh, LA was great. Everything that could have gone wrong in an airport did, and it's okay. I made it, and it's fine. And I made a great positive experience out of it. But I'm really glad to be back. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Inklings. This is our drawing art show over at Geek Space TV. We are a not-for-profit streaming studio out in Seattle where we just like to create cool, safe spaces to geek out and have fun and play games. There are a lot of games, but also to hang out. So this is the hangout portion.
Yes. And we're also... Today's going to be slightly challenging space because we're going to do things that we're afraid of.
Yeah, things I haven't practiced in a long time.
Or never practiced.
And we're with tools that I've never used before. So it's going to be great. We're going to be doing faces. We're going to be drawing faces. Before we get into that, introductions. My name's Steph. I'm actually going to do this time. She, her. You can find me at Sour Fruit Junkie on the interwebs. I like drawing stuff. Check out my Patreon at StephMHC. I'm doing some really cool monsters. I made some stickers recently. It's really cool, and I'm gonna have a print shot up soon. It's gonna be great. Soon.
She's so talented. If you don't follow her, I don't know what's wrong with you.
You can fix it though.
Yeah.
You can.
Growth
fix
is
it.
possible.
It's an easy fix. There's a goal. And who are you?
Hello, my name is Aria. You can find me on Twitter at Genki Soda. I mostly post rants and memes. I'm gonna work on something about why storytelling should go back to being a sacred art and the power of ritual eventually. Every time I make a thread of this, I'm like, this is the length of a novel. I need to stop and tone it down a little bit. I'm very enthusiastic, hence the name Genki Soda. My pronouns are any pronoun is cool. I also accept Mystic One. Cool person.
Mystic one?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to say, like, your Royal Highness, because I don't actually like aristocracy, so...
Yeah. I know, there's so many problems. That's riddled with problems, yes.
Mystic one's cool. Or, like, I don't know, whatever. Whatever's fine.
Banana.
Banana's
We're talking
fine.
about banana.
Yeah.
Cool.
Bananas are lazy.
Yeah. They're all clones, too.
They are all clones, but they're very... They just, like, were like, I'm going to do a sit-up, and then they kind of lifted their head a little, and
they're like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to show you how strong I am by remaining in this pose.
They just get stuck, or it's like a cat when you, like, put duct tape on its back, and then it's just like, eh.
I have never done that to a cat.
Yeah, it's a good way to harass your pets.
I put scarves on my cat, and Rexy would do the backup. Slow back up and try to get out of it, and it's really great because he just kind of scrunches up and just does this little backward shuffle the whole way. Yeah. And especially, usually it's in a small circle, and I just watch her.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, why are we so weird to animals? And then I saw this video the other day of a chimp playing with a lion cub. It was like an adolescent lion, and it's like harassing the lion, and then it grabs its flesh and just noms it a little bit, and the lion's just like, hey, what? And growls at it, and then the chimp just smacks it in the face, and it's like, no.
Chimps are the worst.
And then I was like, well, that's just us. That's we're primates. Okay.
Yeah, they're terrifying. It's pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
Like oh, I see where this comes from.
But just watching them like harass big cats, like pull their tails and stuff, I'm like, this is why I feel instinct to harass my pet
I mean,
cats.
birds do that too, right? Like crows. There's like a bunch of videos of just crows just going, you have a tail.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it.
I'm going to pull it. Welcome, everybody, in chat. Osborne, hello.
Hello.
Got Sleepy Wagaman, thank you for coming back. Noctuvia, yes. Words are hard for me, so bear with me. William TW, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Grimloss, got Pumpkin, BP Phantom, hello.
Hello.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this lovely, lovely Monday. I have this vague childhood memory of putting a hat on one of our dogs and him giving us such a sad, please don't do this to me again look. Yes. Yeah. They give us... Also, it's like, something that was talking about with how... I was actually talking with my mom talking about how, like, oh, dogs are so relatable and they're so wonderful and emotive. I'm like, cats emote. It's just that we happen to have domesticated dogs for so long and chosen all these very anthropomorphic features to keep and continue breeding into, which is why we love them.
Yeah.
Like, the smiling pant is something that we found is great and we wanted more of. So we're like, we like this type of dog. And so a lot of these things, like, the reason why they look so... happy is because we bred that into them, into the way that they look.
And they like No, there's research that's shown that the dogs will emote more when humans can see them.
Yeah,
and
especially
when
with,
they
like,
think there are no people around, they
Mm-hmm.
don't do it
Yeah,
with each other.
like cats like meowing, right? Cats
Yeah.
don't meow at other cats, apparently.
It's
Or
like the
it's different
context
kind
is
of yeah.
different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that much about it, but
Because there's always like this one, as usually used as a warning as opposed to like communicating, right? I think
Yeah.
cats use to get your attention, and they're different pitches to describe like I am hungry versus hey,
yeah.
hey. So is it Tuesday? No, it's not. Is it Tuesday? Oh, in some places, sure. Time is a flat circle
Yeah. Yeah.
called a clock.
Yeah.
Dogs are just like people. They fake being happy to give a crap when they were around too. I mean, sure, yes. Fake happy.
Yeah.
Cats. I think Rexy knows that when she does this, she has a very specific look,
Yeah.
right? I don't know if she knows that it means what I think it means,
Mm-hmm.
but it is like a.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think animals, especially sort of like more intelligent mammals, are smarter than we give them credit for, but they're not. Their intelligence is not the same as ours. It's like their perspective, their understanding of things is so, like what we think is very logical and obvious cause and effect might not work for them, but they still process things and can like imagine things and dream. And
Yeah, they dream. Cats dream. It's so cute.
I love it. I love when cats are just like.
Yeah, they just like gross spasm. It's really great. They have their REM cycles. I'm like, oh no, and their eyes just like kind of half open, and it's really terrifying. Welcome to Animal Talk at Geek Space TV. Hope y'all are enjoying yourself.
We like animals.
I like talking about nature and everything terrible. Hello, 6 past Tuesday for a lot of you. And the dogs can be very smart in the pursuit of meat scraps and walks. I mean, I am very snack oriented too. I can be easily goaded on by snacks. Snack. Cool. So I have a picture of a skull, and I think we're doing warm-ups with this. Kind of similar to how I kind of did the anatomy things. This isn't really anatomy course, but more of, hey, this is what I usually do, and these are the ways that I problem solve things and the ways that I try to see simpler shapes out of something bigger and intimidating. So the human face is pretty terrifying to draw because it's really uncomfortable while you're in the process of making it. It doesn't look completely like a face, but it sort of does. So that uncanniness will just make you feel uncomfortable. And so while you're probably actually not doing it wrong, it looks wrong. It looks so wrong. And so it's really hard to like deal with that uncomfortable moment and continue going and not feel feel discouraged about it. So it's kind of going through like, I haven't done faces in humans in a long time, so we're gonna do some practice and we're gonna choose a portrait and we're gonna draw it together, kind of. And just show like different ways that we're seeing, different techniques that we're doing. Eventually, maybe work our way to Copics. I've never used Copics before, so that's gonna be really fun.
Yeah, I bought these a while ago, and I've just been too intimidated to even try them. And I'm just like, I don't. They're pretty.
Figure it out. So, let's do skulls.
Skulls.
So just like anything else, why skulls? Part of it is learning. So I'm going to start with this guy right over here. So part of it is learning where the structure of these forms come from. You can just draw the skull as a skull, or if you want to actually like, actually let's do this. So I'm going to start with big shapes first. Things that I like to see that might not. Like these are probably going to be my guidelines for the skull. So start with the back. I used to know the parts of all of these, but I don't anymore. Sorry, college education.
I only remember the occipital bone because of how often in CSI that's the way someone died because it got smashed up.
So yeah, back here.
Yeah, that's only.
After lunges, good job. Yes, stay healthy. I need to get back into climbing. I'm so excited to climb tomorrow. I've been out for 2 weeks. I miss climbing. My friend's cat, also very snack oriented. He knows every time I visit them. Yes, so that's the best thing to do for cats is like, come get in there and feed them. And they'll like you. What do I normally draw? Kira, I like drawing monsters and animals. It's just really easy to draw. I just tend to love to draw wolves. I love like fangs and snouts and just monstrous things. I just haven't drawn people in a bit. used to draw. I did a few like D&D characters probably for like our homebrew, but like it's been a while.
I like to draw
I have
people.
found faces to be incredibly intimidating in my early days. Yes, it's very intimidating. Okay, cool. So I've created guidelines for what I see as this shadow and this plane right here, because it's something that I find visually like pleasing and kind of important for me. Usually I like looking at where shadows and planes change, and I have sort of an eye line. We're just gonna start with a lot of middles. I'm gonna say that the eyes are here. I always run into a big issue with doing life drawings, especially from images, about how accurate I'm trying to make them. And I'm just like, oh no, wait, this is off, this isn't fitting right, or whatever. And it's still really hard instinct to fight off. If you believe in yourself, it'll be fine.
When I like to draw, because, you know, everybody, you can learn drawing techniques, but a lot of the time people tend to revert back to how they learn to draw sort of naturally. And a lot of people would, like, when they draw a face, will start with the eye, for example. That's like really common.
Yes.
And then one eye looks great, and the other eye, you're like, oh god, and that sort of thing is pretty common. And I still find a lot of use in that instinct. So when I'm drawing, I usually love to start with gesture drawings, but if I'm not in a class where I have a teacher breathing down my neck being like, no, 30 gesture drawings in the next 10 minutes, or you're going to fail kind of thing, I let myself do one sort of exploratory shape thing first, where I kind of go with my instincts, and then I look at it and be like, okay, how is my eye distorting what I'm seeing? What are the places where I'm like fixating on in this? What shape is it that's like really attracting my eye? And then how do I work with that for the next drawing? I do the same thing to sort of bring it closer to what I want it to look like.
And so that you brought up the like what is attractive to look at, and so you can doing life drawings and drawings from reference, it's like there's no one right way or one right reason to do them. Part of it is practice, but sometimes it's like I like the way this looks and I want to explore why I enjoy the shape or what is happening and what is making me like have these good feelings, and utilizing those skills that you learn to apply to a different drawing where you want to make that feeling happen again. When you say the eye, it's like, oh yeah, like that's the reason why I draw wolves. Like it's just really easy, it's simple, it flows in and out very quickly. It's just a nice zen place where I don't have to think too hard and just things will happen and I know it is fine. It's a good, nice like fuzzy zen space to be in. Are landscapes easier? They can sometimes be challenging for me because I overthink things a bit. The way the structures for a lot of organic life forms don't translate the same way in landscapes and flora, fauna, rocks, etc. There's a lot of micro and macro structures that happen, and learning how those, I haven't really learned how those work just yet. I've drawn a bit of plant drawing is really, really fun. It's so weird and alien and very, very different. And it's just really fun to practice shapes and practice different iterations of the same thing. But landscapes I find are very different because you are shading and creating, you're playing more in a full composition versus a single figure. There's a different sort of vision you have to have when you approach these sorts of things. Cool. So nose here, it's a nice plane right there, and mouth does this weird little barrel-y thing. I'm gonna do this and And now that I've hit the jawbone, I'm hitting the point where my brain is like, oh, you screwed up. You didn't make enough room for the jawbone, therefore your occipital bone isn't where it's supposed to be. And so part of the way that I fight it off is add more shading. Pretend it didn't happen, and then you just keep going. I think one of the most important things in drawing is to just keep going.
It also helps me just to remind myself that, like, with every art, or even things that aren't necessarily art, they're usually, like, many iterations before the final copy that people see. So, like, if I'm nervous about my writing, I want to share that, and I'm just like, oh God, if there's anything to tweak about it, that means I'm a failure. And I'm like, okay, no, but, like, I know with drawing, usually before I have a finished, say, figure drawing,
You've done studies.
I've done studies, probably of that same person in that same pose. I might have done, like, 30 studies, like 30 studies that took me hours to do before I get to the point where I'm like, now I can make the final drawing. And that's not because of a problem. That's just because it takes time. And then I'm like, oh. So then if you draw something once and you're like, oh, God, this looks nothing like that, well, that's totally normal.
Practice and try. Keep going. And you gotta take a break. Take a break. So, like, a lot of times, like, I forget that I should walk away from something for, like, a few minutes because when I come back, it looks completely different. I've been doing this little playmat for one of my friends, and I definitely hit a moment where I was like, everything is wrong with this. And I stepped away for 30 minutes, and it was fine. I like the heart. That's great.
Well, it's like there's the little hole for the
Yeah.
optic nerve, and it looks like a heart in
It
the
is.
skull.
I think it should just stay a heart. It's great. Cool.
Oh,
Very
right.
nice. I want to try what you're doing. Maybe take one of these.
Yeah, this is
the gray one?
This is the gray one. That one's like, that's also gray, but it's very, very light.
Cool.
It'll be lighter than this
Cool.
now.
All right. Let's see what we could do with this too.
Actually,
Hello,
this is-
left-handed monkey wrench. Good to see you. Did I get a haircut? I probably shaved the sides of my head, but is this tied back really lopsided? Yeah, flip screen with Photoshop. Yeah. It helped. The thing is, like, the thing about rotating and reversing stuff, it's like, it sometimes just makes it even worse because then I realize how lopsided everything is, and then everything's awful. That's what usually happens for me. Okay, so let's approach this differently. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. That eye socket is going to be humongous. That's fine. Should be a little heart skull.
Gosh. The reason why I like to do a lot of figure drawing, because I'm not currently like trying to be particularly trying to be a professional artist in the sense of like supporting myself with art.
Mm-hmm.
I just use it as something that's like good for my mental health.
Yeah.
And figure drawing is hard and kind of sucks, but it's fantastic when you finish it and it looks good if you get to that point with like practice and being comfortable with how your style looks and everything. But it helps me practice sitting with discomfort and sitting with a
Yeah.
sense of like, I'm not good, I suck, oh God, I'm not good, I suck.
And also learning how to see things through, right?
Mhm.
Like, one thing is like learning to manage the discomfort, and then in the end, learning that there's a good feeling at the end of it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and practicing that. Okay, you know, this might suck right now, but like I remember past few times that I've had this feeling before, like something nice happens, and it matters a lot, like to the human brain, to just be like, okay, no, well, I have this association now. Gaming FTL. Oh my God, Jersh. Thank you for rating.
Woo!
Woo! Thank you for joining us. Geekspace TV. Hello. We are a Seattle-based and not-for-profit streaming studio where we do a lot of cool RPGs throughout the week. Today is more of our community building art shows. I'm Steph, she, her. You can find me at Sarah for Junkie on the interwebs. I'm just here drawing stuff. We're doing a big focus on scary things like human faces. So we're starting
Yes.
from the inside out.
Inside Out. My name is Aria. You can find me on Twitter at Genki Soda. All pronouns are cool. And yes, I'm scared of drawing faces. It's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing it live.
Yep. Gonna do it live. It's fine. Everything's gonna be fine. Yeah, so thank you for joining us. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So you're starting with skull things because understanding structures and kind of shapes, but also practicing, right? Practicing how your hand-eye coordination is working, what you're seeing, what you find appealing, and what are things that you'd want to work on is like is kind of what I usually use warm-ups for. It's like, what do I feel like drawing? Like, I don't know. Let's do a quick warm-up, and you kind of get into a mood, and you figure out what to do next. So right now with this guy, I'm doing some light form and then layering some shadows because it's a lot of fun. Again, probably made that a little too small, but it's fine. The funny thing is when I go out and draw in the zoo, people will walk by, and I know it's just a social thing of not knowing what kind of question to ask, but they will always be like, "Did you draw that?" And I'm like, "No." I have not said that, actually. It's a little too mean, especially it's a lot of... The zoo is interesting, but always get those like, "Did you draw that?" It's like, how else? If I stole this from somebody, that would be very concerning.
Yes.
If I hadn't drawn this and I somehow just had this art, I would be concerned. Even, like, I know that's not what they're asking. It's just genuine, like, curiosity. I always just find it funny. It's a part of me just finds people funny.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people, like you said, they want to engage, but they were like,
I don't know how to ask this question. I've never seen an artist in the wild before. What do I say to that? In the wild! It's real! It's real, it's alive. How do I talk to it? And, like, it's, even in school, like, I enjoyed having people watch me draw, because it was cool. It's also, like, it is being a center of attention without being, for me, performance art is still really is a line that I'm not completely comfortable in. Like, I don't really know what to do with my body on a stage, right? But with this kind of, in a way, a performance, like, I'm gonna do a thing that I do really well, and I can show people how to, like, what I am doing, and I enjoyed that. Like, growing up and still, you know, people are just like, oh, this is really cool, or like, I'll hang out, drink and draw, or hang out with some friends at a cafe and just draw together because this is really fun. Just, you know, watch each other make something cool. Vampires chased by werewolves. Wow.
Chased by wolves.
Wolves. Been doing vampires, horrors right up our street. Masquerade or? Will they try to draw me later? The answer is yes. And then I definitely had a few sketchbooks where I wrote, "Oh no, they noticed." And, like, that's, like, a half-finished person sketch from the bus. And I'm like, oh, no, they noticed. And I'll just close the book and be done.
It's, like, the same with photography. I often, you know, like, really want to get sort of very candid photos of people where it's, like, something people are doing is really beautiful and wonderful, and I would love to capture it. But I also am really big on, like, consent. I don't want to just take someone's picture without their consent. I really hate that, like, news does that, for example. They're just like, oh, let's have B-reel of headless obese people because they're not real people or something, which is a huge problem, and lots of things similar to that, and so I really want to fight against that. But then a lot of time when you ask somebody, suddenly the thing that you really wanted to capture that's kind of delicate is gone, because then they're like, oh, I'm being observed, which is very different. And
very strange line to walk as an artist.
Yeah, I stopped trying to. I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna just photograph flowers.
There you go.
I don't need to get their consent. No pressure there.
No pressure with flowers. Masquerade, cool. See you later. Thanks for the raid.
Thank you.
Worst, can I have your drawing? Or can I keep your sketchbook? First thing, really? Someone's asked you to keep your sketchbook? First thing happened to me second. Thankfully not. Okay. But I read a couple of stories like that. Oh no. That's the worst. Noctuvia, how about taking the picture, then asking if it's okay to keep or use? Because that kind of already breaks the consent in a way, right?
Yeah.
Or is it more complicated? Like,
Yeah, because I've had people where I've done that and they've gotten really uncomfortable. And it was something where I was like, I'm sure there's a good answer, but there's not going to be an answer that's universally good. And I was like, I don't really want to invest the time it would take to get the resources to be able to answer that question well when there's so many other things I want to do. So I'm going to just like take a step back. Or I do like photography at events where people like, want a photographer. And then it's better because I can take candid pictures of people and they're in a space where they're expecting it to be happening. Versus on the street. Street photography is where it gets dicey.
Yeah, that is a really good point.
Yeah.
That is really cool. Yeah. Finding events where it is the norm and the services are needed, and finding a place where that service is required. Yeah. Also, that's like the goes into an interesting conversation about like practicing artist and professional, right? Like, well, if I need to have practice, like, is it okay for me to ask these things if I'm not a quote unquote professional? And I think that takes a lot of personal, like, navigation. I think it takes practice in the ways that you can, and then practicing in those spaces as well.
Yeah.
In the job, and like knowing that you have these skills, and the reality is that you're actually going to learn while on the job, and it's important to not let that fear of not being good enough stop you. I am still wrestling with that a lot, and I try to remember things that I have done before that are easy. Like the times that I have faced a situation where I didn't feel fully skilled, but I came out okay anyway. A lot of it deals with like customer service jobs, so you have to learn a lot of skills right off the bat, on the fly. And the thing is, I haven't been fired yet for not doing well, right? So then that is actually the same thing that applies to my art. Why not my art as well? And so a lot of it is, like you said, practicing with things that are okay, like flowers, still lifes, landscapes, or, cityscapes as a whole, because you can still capture feelings and you can still capture the feelings in a story in those moments.
Yeah.
And then you practice something else, right? It's still another skill set, and it's important to find those moments like, hey, I'll do photography for your wedding or for your party, or hey, it's like this, you're doing this birthday party thing. Do you want me to like do some photos for you and like take some and post them on an album later? You can open up the services, and sometimes people will say yes, sometimes they'll say no. Sometimes they don't even realize that they're like, yeah, that'd be actually really cool. Could you do that? So a lot of this is asking, and it is respecting consent for sure. Can I keep this? Can run the risk of feeling like extortion. Yes, there is part of what I would feel if someone took a photo of me and then asked, yeah. So that's the difference between drawing emotions from a stock photo and real line emotions from movie. Most stock photos appear fake, which is also, there's a really cool warm-up practice that I've seen some artists do where they'll watch a movie and they'll draw the beginning and last frames of a scene that happens to show how stories are told across a frame or how cameras move. Every time the camera shifts, you draw the first and the last before it shifts again. It is very intensive, but it is a lot to study. And picking a good film to do that, it like helps with narrative flow and helps with composition and etc. Movie stuff is really fun because the composition is there. It makes your eyes enjoy what's happening on the screen, so it is worth looking at. Finding things that are pleasing to look at is important because you can learn and study what it is that makes you happy.
Yeah.
And so I think people kind of forget, like, studying a master painting is more about things that work for you as well as like learning the technique. It was quite a few years ago, but I got the feeling I was being sketched from across. Oh no! Quite flattered at the time. Too shy to ask the pretty sketchy lady about it though. That's fair. At my university, we have a room with paintings of all the university presidents from the 1850s to the present day. It's fascinating. You can tell when the painter started painting from a photograph. Rather than a live drawing, the lighting in the painting from the photographs looks really strange by contrast. Interesting. Is it like less warm or... Yes, skulls. Skulls are great. So one of the things that I have been working on is learning how to see and define value, because I kind of tend to make things also this thing dries lighter than I expect it to, which is pretty fun.
It's
So at first I'm like, oh no, it's so dark, and then I was like, oh no, it's fine. These are amazing. These are great. One of the challenges that I have been trying to address for myself is learning how to deal with values in a way that strengthens the drawing and flow and composition. And so I don't have an answer yet. It's still very, very much a study in progress right now. And so we'll see. So this is the darker one?
No, that's a blender.
Oh, blender. Cool.
And this one's lighter.
Lighter.
That is the darkest gray I have.
Cool. So this is going to be very intense blacks, but we'll see what happens. So a lot of time with shading. It's about the tone and stuff that's next to it, so everything is fairly relative, I think.
Okay, I hate to interrupt.
Yes?
I keep forgetting something that I just remembered. Aria,
Yeah.
behind you, your tank top from ages and ages ago with
Oh,
the Inklings logo on it.
Sweet! I'm so excited.
I know. I'm sorry. Like, I know that's totally not related to
No, that's
anything,
fine. Thank
but
you, Anna. You're great.
I keep forgetting.
It's a
That's
Christmas
fine.
miracle.
Christmas miracle.
Yeah.
Yay. I actually really enjoy experimenting with different tools, different inks, because I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if it's gonna work, but then in the end it's gonna be okay, and I have to believe in it. I have to believe, yeah, everything's gonna be alright. And hopefully this will work out. So this is gonna practice, right? Part of the warm-up is also figuring out what works and what doesn't work with this new tool I've never used before. And what happens, these grays. Grays are always really weird. So I'm doing a lot of just haphazard throwing around because in my mind I've already gone to the next step, in which I'm probably going to outline them with either more shading or the black ink. I don't think this is going to work. This is definitely a commitment, but okay. That is not a thing I'm very happy with. That's okay. What is going on? It's my top 3 biggest issue in art. My teacher noticed it right away. I have an issue with going dark, so it's always low contrast, which sucks because photorealism often requires high contrast. Yep. So I've slowly been getting over that fear. There's also that contrast is a very different sort of contrast for composition, right? When I learned how to use shadows to accentuate things, it's not always most accurate. A lot of it is figuring out what the subject is and how interesting you want it to look. So that was also another thing. A lot of things that I learned in like still life and like black and white paintings and whatever didn't even apply when I had to finally do like illustration and composition. It was very frustrating. And it's never, I just find that fine art is really frustrating sometimes because a lot of professors think that fine art is everything and it isn't, and as opposed to teaching you different ways to see. And even in an art class about how to see, it is just about the theories of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't really tell you or give you examples of how people actually do that in a real situation. It's only taught in a very scholarly, academic way that I found really, really unrelatable.
Yeah, my program was very fine art in the sense of being like really pretentious. And teachers often had like really bizarre expectations that they didn't communicate. And we had good foundations classes, but the teachers were like completely psychotic. So I did this one piece that was supposed to be like rule-based art, and so I combined some of the like programming that goes into like old dot matrix printers with Japanese tanka poetry, which is 5-7-5-7-7 syllable structure. And the professor failed me on that because she's like, that's not haiku structure. You got it wrong. And I was like, or there's more than one type of Japanese poetry.
Oh.
And I was like also pissed because someone else came in who had like, she forgot to do her project. So like 5 seconds before the class, she just made some origami boxes of different sizes that could be stacked in each other. And the teacher like went nuts for it and was just like, oh goodness. And like Asian culture is so amazing. And then she would also always quote the Buddha. The Buddha says this, and I'm like, I really hate this person.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry that was your experience. Holy shit.
Yeah, I had a lot of teachers like that.
That's horrifying.
They were just, but then I had other really good teachers.
Yeah. The same art program for me, like I had my monster artist teacher who was like, yeah, I was like, hey, I'm teaching monster art next year. I'm like, cool, I already graduated. He's like, just sit in it, it's fine. I'm like, okay.
Nice, yeah. The dean of my department was he is the reason why I got into my program, because I submitted my portfolio. I didn't take any art classes in high school.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Ever. Mostly because I had really bad, like, art teachers in middle school who were like, if you hold your pen like the way you write, you'll never be a real artist. And I actually, like, thought that was true for some reason. Because she was like, you have to hold it like this. And I'm like, actually, you can hold it however you want.
Hold however you want.
There are artists who are paraplegics.
Yeah, there are artists who don't have
mouths.
an arm. Like, please.
So, like,
please, calm down.
So, when I got to college, I submitted my portfolio, and some art departments at universities accepted me, and the one for the school I ended up going to didn't. It was because I just sent in a bunch of fan art.
Yeah.
Anime drawings, and it would be like a piece of computer paper with like an anime figure just like kind of somewhere on the page. Like I didn't have any idea that composition was a thing, or like line weighting, or like I would just be
breath
like
or studies and concentration in a portfolio, that whole mess.
Yeah, so I was like, there was a bunch of drawings of pears and cat girls, and that was my portfolio.
Pears and cat girls, okay.
And I was rejected, and I went to the dean, and I was like, what happened? Like, what can I do? Like, I really want to get in. What do I need to fix? And he's just like, oh, you didn't get in because this is a really pretentious department, but I can see skills here. I can see the eye that you have. I'm going to give you, like, an assignment. Bring this portfolio in, these kinds of things. Take these classes. I'll give you course overrides so you can take the classes.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, he was like my buddy.
Oh, wow.
He really liked me. He bought a bunch of my artwork too, and I was like, yes.
Course override? Wow, that's super awesome.
Because it was, the department wouldn't let non-department people take the classes.
Yeah. It's like behind that wall or whatever.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
And that's the power of, I would say, being cute white girl. Because I could just, like, go and sweet talk my way into things. But the actual moral of the story I want to communicate is that it doesn't hurt to ask a lot of the time. It takes, like, courage to do it because there's such a high chance of...
But the worst that could happen is that it doesn't anyway.
Right. So then...
Yeah.
A lot of things that have been good in my life have come from me just being like, I'm just going to call this person and see what they can tell me. Mm-hmm. What's the worst that can happen? They hang up on me.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to just write this professor an email and be like, hey, what do you think of my things? And it's great. And then sometimes you have to pay them for their professional opinions because they deserve to be paid for their work. But
yes,
it's also okay to ask for help.
The advice is you have to work your ass off if you want to be successful. That's probably true. I mean, work, but also it's not going to be the defining, like, portion of whether or not you're successful. I think it also is important to, like, dig into what successful looks like to you, and that sometimes smaller goals and learning how to break down big challenges into smaller attainable items is actually very successful. Portfolios have always been a hard one for me because I always want the thing to look industry, like it should look acceptable to industry. And the issue is that I can't do industry things without having worked in the industry. So that's a very unrealistic expectation to put on myself. And yet it sounds like it's rational though, right? Like if I want a game studio to hire me, I need to show that I can do their game. But not in the way that my brain is thinking. Part of it is doing a thing that you're passionate about and having that show. Part of it is making small attainable things because it's more important that it's done than it is perfect. It is just very important just to make things. That is definitely from like having a year of like Patreon where I definitely just drew something every single month for people and shared it, and that has just helped ramp up this desire to continue just making something. That has always just been a moment of just a fear and inactivity and like an inability to like continue forward is always just being stuck on it's not perfect enough. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be. What matters is that you enjoy what you're doing and it shows and you move on to the next thing because you got other things you love you got to do. And it is important to keep in mind what industry looks for, i.e. style or how, like style, dimensions, like how you're going to set up T-poses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Except like at the end of the day, like I think portfolios is one thing, but then the other is like they also have another way of testing you, which is art tests, right? Which is like how do you deal with problems in a very limited amount of time. And so portfolios are going to be the place where they look for the things that you enjoy doing, like how you've chosen to depict things, how good your shapes are, what your silhouettes look like. You know, this is what I imagine. It's like if I'm an art director looking for something, perhaps someone making my game is great, but also at some point my game has to become better, or like the direction might change, or I have this future project that I need a specific artist for, so it is important to still have your style in there, right? So bottom line is that when making a portfolio or taking on big things, it actually isn't as big and terrifying as you make it. A lot of it is about making small goals that are attainable so that you keep ramping up success and don't feel scared. Making smaller tasks will help you attain those sort of goals. So for me, it's always like, do some modeling or sketch for 4 hours a day. And then from there go, make one, work on this, make a bust, finish that bust, make this creature, you know. But it doesn't go, I don't start with make the creature. I've done that before, it's really hard and you burn out really easily because it just hurts so much because you just don't make the progress that you want to make. And it's really easy to be hard on yourself the entire time because it's really hard. Because you're doing a lot of work while trying to teach yourself something. It's always important to break down these big, scary things into small, really attainable tasks, and similar to what we're doing is like breaking down complex, terrifying things into smaller objects. So you can actually start attaining them. Grinny, thank you for joining us. It's good to see you. Making the art look like photographs of photographs aren't the same things as realism. There's many places they can look in. Yeah, it's same with like still lifes. Like I miss life drawing because it's really different when it's the actual person in 3D as opposed to just painting the shape of a shadow, right? Like when you're doing life drawing, you're drawing a person directly versus painting from a photograph. Looking at this, I'm just drawing the shape of a shadow. I used to fall into the trap of polishing things out of perfection, taking far too long and procrastinating. Trying to do stuff for effect now. Listen to the work, we're going to move on to the next thing. Yes. Are you telling me it's unreasonable for me to expect myself to create a perfect, polished masterpiece of a game as my first project by myself? The single woman team while having zero professional game development experience? Yes. Yes. Which is why also when you apply for jobs that say you've had 3 to 4 years of experience, apply anyway. Usually that requirements are to scare people. Yeah. And even then, what's the worst that can happen? You don't get accepted, which still would happen if you didn't even apply for it anyway. Yeah. So apply for it.
And it's also good because it's like applications, whether they're for schools or they're for jobs or whatever, it's always like there's a certain amount of like emotional load that goes into just like putting yourself through that. But the more you do it, the easier it gets. And if you just like know, hey, I'm like 2 years away from a place where I feel like I'm actually got the skills to be in there, but I'm going to just start applying to things now. because then the fear factor is gone, and then once I am actually in a good place, I'm so used to this. I'm so used to how should I phrase things? What should things look like? How do I feel comfortable with my own work? What do I want to show of my work? That it's not as scary. Yeah.
I like your lines and your texture and your flow.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I did that last year with graduate school applications, where I was like, I'm just going to apply to like
Super rad, by the way.
all of these like intense schools, because I had been like maybe having panic attacks about it, and I was like, I'm just doing it. And then I got rejected. I got waitlisted at a bunch of them, but they were like, we're not actually accepting grad students this year. I was like, fuck. And then which is great,
because that's great, because it's something that you can control.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's
right.
actually kind of cool. Like, you know, like, oh, not accepting me because they're not looking for people. That's great. That's like, that's great.
Yeah.
That's super awesome.
But then I framed some of my rejection letters because I wanted
motivation.
No, because I want to celebrate failure. We don't celebrate it, but failure is heroic in its own right.
Because you overcame fear.
Yeah, and you
right.
like tried things. You put yourself out there. That's why I've always dated shy nerds. Because you can tell immediately, right, that they're putting themselves out of their comfort zone. And people putting themselves out of their comfort zone is like the most attractive thing to me. Like people who are like willing to go for stuff. So I've just dated mostly shy nerds, because then it's immediately apparent that I'm like, you're super uncomfortable and you're trying to flirt with me. That's so charming. And yeah. This is overshare time.
It's fine. It's okay. It's fine. Things you're passionate about.
Yeah. Flirting. That's
Flirting.
okay.
Academic flirting.
Nerd flirts.
Nerd flirts.
Okay.
Cool. I like your line weight. I like the energy that's in your sketching, whether that's intentional or not. I like it.
Yeah, I coming to terms with it, trying to like it. Line weight is hard because I often want to have like weighting that conveys weight in and of itself, and like something taking space. So, or like compression of things and light. So a lot of like contour drawing. But then I end up going to things that look much more like tattoo art. A lot of people have been like, you'd be a great tattoo artist. And I'm like, I love tattoo art, but I'm trying to get away from that style.
Is it because of the type of pen that you're using when you're trying to do this sort of thing? Like, do you think if you use something that was more like fine tip to actually create like the close hatches that you need to disperse, or for example, like maybe not a brush pen but a fountain pen, where your line weight can, you know, change just by pressure and how you lift off?
Yes, anything that changes with pressure, though, I have a tendency to just, like, as I get excited, I just, like, push down more. And I'm like,
fair. That's fair. That's fair. No, that's fair. I've lost a few nibs to people who I'm like, here, try this, and I never consider that. Oh, they don't know how to use the fountain pen. Now they're getting excited. Oh no, my fountain pen.
Yes.
I have lost a few nibs to that. Yes.
Well, that's why I've been practicing a lot with brush pens too, because I'm like, I can see my concentration and my emotional landscape as I draw, because I will change how I hold my pen. It's great. Yeah. I like, yours has such good depth. It's really good.
I think it's unbalanced in where I want more shadows to be somewhere, but I don't know where they go. That's what I feel. But I'm happy.
Are hard, though.
But I'm happy with where the light stuff is, right? Like where all these light shades. Like I'm happy with these decisions. It is just that like right now I wish I had something that was in between so I could get the in between bits. But like I'm actually pretty happy with this. I'm happy with the light grays. Usually that's a big challenge for me. So.
Yeah.
Also, it's hard working from white to shade in and still leave highlights. It's always difficult to do that, so don't be hard on yourself when you're doing that. It's really hard.
That's why it's often actually nicer to work on like colored paper.
Yeah, like toned paper or something like that. Yeah. Or like even
sepia.
taking like India ink and just kind of like doing a really light wash over it, like very very light wash, helps so much.
Or charcoal drawings. My favorite is to make the whole paper black and then do reductive drawing. So you actually like take away as your mark making.
Yeah.
And
I also can't really tell how these grays are supposed to be lighter or darker. They just like there's a different kind of tone versus actual No, it's like there's like a color saturation versus an actual
You're talking about
difference.
between these two?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Like, I like this one because of the coolness of it. The other one is warmer, and I can't tell if people just like, yeah, that's a lighter tone because it's warm. I'm like, I think you're lying.
I think it's literally supposed to be cool and warm.
That
Ice
makes sense.
spray, yeah. They're one step apart.
That makes
I just
sense.
bought these because I was like,
Oh, no, it works.
I want to experiment.
For sure. And same with like pencils, like 6B, 4B, 2B. Like, if I didn't take art classes, I wouldn't know that 6B is darker. It's just the number. It's just a bigger pencil. What do I know? And also like the softness too and the hardness changes, right? Like 2B is like a super hard lead, which is why it's so light and so fine. And then 6B is just like, here, have all the lead. I'm like, thank you. This is what I wanted. Always.
Yeah.
Gonna catch up on some chat. Would you like to move on to portraits?
Yes.
You feel, or do you want to do another skull?
I enjoyed this enough that I'm like,
Cool.
I want to do a face.
A face, cool. We were looking at portrait references, and we already made a decision, but here's an example. So I just looked up portrait reference, because I'm like, what am I going to draw today? Human faces. I should just look up portrait references. So you have a lot of options. Some pretty cool things in here.
There's so many beautiful people in the
You're
world.
very beautiful people.
It's a little ridiculous. I just,
The feeling I have isn't so much burning, like, anger anymore, but it's more like, oh, this is great. I want to draw this, and I want to draw this. Or some things where I'm like, I don't feel like tackling this right now, or tackling that. So I think we agreed on this one.
yeah.
Right, just because there's good shapes, there's good shadow.
Interesting texture.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Barbie face. Holy
Oh,
shit.
that
was
was a-
really weird.
Creepy face.
That was a very uncanny, really weird face. That's fine. So I also love this iPad so much. So there
Yeah.
we go.
So this, looking at this,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be hard because it's very, very high contrast.
Yeah. Highlights are going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have white out. Or I had like white paint. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Or like some gouache.
Man, one thing, drawing faces, regardless of if I draw them well or terribly, is giving me a really deep appreciation for wrinkles and just how much interest and character they add to people's faces and how they're like your badges of honor for all the experiences you've had in life. Where it's like, I scowl a lot. I'm gonna earn those frown lines someday, and smile lines.
All my crows, sweet. Alyssa, going back on like a lot of like the past coming back to haunt about perfection. Like, I understand, straight A's was an important goal for most of my upbringing, and so when that went away, I didn't know what to do with myself, and that the rule set is not applicable after 18. And so I totally understand failure is terrifying to me, and there's a lot of things about even the artist thing, like a lot of it, my dad like didn't support me when I told him I was going to be an artist, so I had to deal with a lot of those feelings, and you get through it at some point. Believe in you. You become stronger, and you'll find a way. That's kind of how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
You will face it constantly. I still face it, but you learn to keep going for sure. So
Yeah.
do not fret. You'll find a way. Because I slowly, and a part of it was getting smaller tasks where success became the attainable like feeling that I would get from attempting drawing, and that has helped me immensely. Doing Patreon has been the thing for me, where I've had to have every month to do something. Like, I've done Inktober, and after 2 weeks, I usually can't do it anymore because it's a lot. Drawing for 30 days straight is a lot, guys. So doing a monthly thing, or just drawing, hey, I'm just gonna draw for 4 hours. Like, because you don't realize I have to draw a thing or make a complete art is really hard because it has to be done and good. But if you just say, I'm going to work on a thing for 4 hours, it turns into 8 hours and it's super fun.
Yeah.
And then you can just drop it. Like, you have no commitment to complete it, and when it's done, it's done. Because I have an issue, I have a really bad habit of not going back to finish my art. I like to do it in one sitting and just call it done.
Mm-hmm.
I don't revisit very often, which is not a really good thing when I'm trying to work and complete something, right? But setting yourself up to just draw 4 hours a day or twice a week or whatever is very attainable, because there is no requirement for it to be successful. It is just time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not about the quality or whatever that happens. It is about the time given, which is unrelated to the fear that happens. So, yeah.
Yeah, and those are really good points. There's a lot of different methods out there that exist for like helping people overcome fear of starting. And there's like the Pomodoro method, which is I think the easiest one to read about. It's just a tomato. Pomodoro is tomato in Italian. It's tomato timers, and this woman was like, I can't start anything, but if I put a timer on for 20 minutes, and I'm like, I'm gonna just do a thing for 20 minutes, and then if my emotions are still so crazy after that 20-minute timer goes off, I can stop, and then I'll take a 5-minute break, and like forcing yourself to still take that break even if you've done the time. As a good way to build up this like idea of, oh, I want to come back. That's one of many methods. But the biggest thing is just to be careful of like what story are you telling yourself. And I know for me with like writing, the story I'm telling myself is that I'm secretly a gifted genius, but if I am not perfect, that means that it's all a lie and my whole life is a lie. And I'm working on undoing that first statement there. I really internalized a lot of the like, I'm a special boy with a special destiny, narratives that our culture loves to give to children, and I gotta let go of that.
Because there's more amazing things happen when you're together.
Yeah.
I think, like, if anything that RPGs have taught me about is that the more amazing things happen when I have more people involved that genuinely want to work with me.
Yeah.
Like, the coolest stuff happens. Like, my art didn't truly blossom until I came out to Seattle and met the people that I know now. Like, I met a ton of industry people by accident. Like, it is absolutely insane. But I've been to drink and draw with a bunch of people who now work at Bungie and 343 and like at ArenaNet and Motiga at the time, like when it was still going. And it shaped me for like who I am now. It's very insane. Like, life is strange. Life is very strange. Work hard, but also life is strange. And these people helped me realize I was not alone and helped me learn and have been this wonderful source of just constant encouragement, which is really surprising. Because coming from like a school where artists are just like harumph all the time and fine artists are just harumph, and why I didn't go to grad school because holy crap, I did not want to sit and critique things for 3 hours every day. I instead would rather just draw for 3 hours with my friends and make jokes and draw dick unicorns. So
Dick unicorns.
Unicorns made of dicks. You know, that happened once, twice. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think it's also really easy to tell yourself a story of like, sort of the story I was saying is, if we have this idea that it's only this special boy with a special destiny who's valuable, because I mean, a lot of the stories that we tell culturally are about these people, and only that character and the people who assist that character actually have any value in it. It's really easy to tell yourself, if I'm not uniquely talented or uniquely gifted, if I'm not valuable, if I'm not like going to just revolutionize the industry that I join and be the most famous or something, I'm not valuable. And maybe we don't all tell ourselves that extreme of a version of that story, but I think in a lot of us there is that. So then it can be really hard to start, because you're like, if this isn't good the first time, that means I'm not uniquely talented and uniquely special, therefore I am without merit, so I shouldn't try because I don't want to find that out. And
Yeah. Oh, yeah, setting the expectation so high that the concept of failure is terrifying. It becomes this immobilizing thing.
Yeah.
And the goal becomes so immobilizing in a way, right?
And even if you've like, oh, I don't think that, I mean, like, deep down, I think pretty much everybody does on some level have this idea that the different versions of this story. And so I think working out of that is why I like drawing live, where I'm just like, I can't just stop doing it because I need to entertain everybody.
Well, it's there now, and now it exists. It's the internet. It's live. It's fine.
Everybody's seen it.
Cool. So how are you going to approach this?
So this one here is, it's been such a long time since I've drawn a face. I tried drawing some the other day. The bodies looked great. The faces looked like they were clay faces that were melting. And I was like, okay. And this face is really lovely. There are a lot of really beautiful angles and shapes and forms in them. And I really want to explore that. So I'm going to let myself do a quick pencil sketch to sketch out like where the shapes are in relation and proportion to each other. So like looking at this nice sort of rectangle here and then this rectangle here, and then
For me, it's this rectangle here too.
yeah.
Like this plane, right? So what I dissect is planes, but definitely, like you said, the angles are beautiful. So like the things that I see before any of the shadow is this and this. So those are probably things I'm going to look at. I'm also going to try personally to challenge myself to do some of the values in this. Even though this is high contrast and I know that it's not going to be perfect, I would like to lay down probably some grays up, scribble some stuff in some areas, and then figure it out later. I think I'm going to try and learn how to figure stuff out later. But I definitely also follow mostly these two angles first, and then everything kind of grows from there, I think.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to kind of approach it. So the way I'm going to probably do this one is this edge and this edge first for sure, and then figure it out from there, I think.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. This is going to be really weird. It's going to be really weird.
I also had a drawing teacher. So I do want to say this. If you've never taken art classes and you want to, I cannot stress enough that community colleges have the best.
Oh my god, yeah.
Basically, like I went to a really, really great big university, and the classes there were of course good, but in many ways I learned more from the like $300 summer like landscape painting classes I took.
Yeah.
Or whatever, just like random stuff. And this drawing teacher I had, she really pushed me to stop drawing so small. I would always just draw like tiny things because I was like afraid. Basically, I didn't even realize it at the time, but I was just like, if I draw it tiny,
the mistakes are smaller.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I
I
totally understand.
So she, for the rest of the class, she noticed this like right away, like the first week. And after that, she
That
wouldn't.
is such a good professor. Such a good teacher.
She was amazing. She was like, "You're not allowed to draw on anything that's smaller than this." And I was like, and she's like, "I'll give you extra time because it's gonna take you longer, but you have to draw everything huge." And
it's really, it's actually freeing too.
Yeah.
When I was like thinking about doing tattooing, and part of it was like studying like chrysanthemums, flowers, and shapes. So I bought this big notebook, and I just took up a whole flower per page. And it makes you just do stuff. Like it makes you, I don't know. You have to, instead of like trying to get things right, you have to get things to fill the page, and the goal is different all of a sudden. I think drawing bigger, just also it lets you get the details, and it lets your margin of error be a lot bigger when it's bigger, right? Like if you have a small thing, I'm like, well, it's really obvious this is off, but I can't do anything because it's so tiny. Whereas starting bigger, you're just like, I have a lot of room for this thing to go a little wibbly wobbly, but still maintain like the concept and shape and feelings. Yeah, I agree with you. Listen, the idea of failure becomes so much more terrifying and horrible than the actual consequence of failure. But yes, yeah. Thank you for sharing, by the way. That's so cool, Jir. I also love your stuff. It's so cool. Thank you for sharing.
yes.
So I'm gonna do very big scribbly grays. And a lot of this is that contour shading, I think we talked about with the figure drawing, right? We're talking about, but what is the shape that's doing, and using the lines to define it, making them closer together where it's darker, and showing depth of field by spreading it out. It works the same way here when I'm trying to deal with highlights, for example, and I'm going to do more spread out lines kind of here, I think, because I'm not completely sure, so I'm going to do this a little bit because a skull does that, and maintaining the shape that is happening right there. The brows are one thing, but I'm not going to use shading that way because these instead are actually folds in the skin, and if I do shading that way, you kind of lose focus of what is actually going on. Sometimes I'll do the quadrant. It's really different how I do that now, and a lot of times I don't rely on it anymore because it actually hinders me versus helps me explore a space. It's more interesting to start with the shape and then build from it and not use the anatomical correct one because it also depends on what I'm doing, right? If I'm trying to do something realistic, then maybe I would, but more often than not now I start with an overall face shape or an idea or the feeling that I want and then build into it. This is it's more fun. To me, that's more fun. Are you still interested in getting into doing tattoos? I don't know. I have a machine at home, like a cheap one. I don't know, actually. I think I was looking to apprentice for a bit, but it's like there's a lot of pretension in tattoo parlors, mainly in the downtown Seattle area, which is understandable. And it's not really, what I would like to do. I think especially as a lady in the tattoo industry, it's probably not a great idea. I also don't want to be like a kitchen wizard, so it's weird. I don't think I would. I still enjoy getting tattoos on my body. I would rather learn to tattoo just so I can tattoo my friends. It doesn't really become a thing that, it's not, I don't want a tattoo to make money. I want a tattoo so I can tattoo my friends. Just like, well, that's a very odd description of a hobby. So I'm gonna start approaching the neck folds. I'm gonna not worry too much about that immense space right here. So I'm gonna just do that there to kind of define, remind myself what is happening. I'm gonna worry about the folds in the skin later and instead focus on this section right here. And part of that is this shape and then this shape. So we're gonna be following, again, sort of a contour, and this contour isn't going to be the following of the neck per se, because that isn't what I'm feeling or seeing right here. What I feel is this motion continuing with the shadow, and so therefore we're going to continue down that way. A little different than the brow because the neck is more of, this is emotion, this is movement, so hence why I'm approaching skin folds in very different ways. I'm going to do this cheek here, and what I see is this. And do a little bit of that going down and shifting to this direction right here with the jowls. This is, again, as a reminder, and we're going to build up towards this eye right here now with this shape. That's already more than I'd like to do right now, so we're just going to chill for a second.
Another thing you can always do. So I just did, you can't really see it that well because it's in pencil.
Scratchers, sorry, not kitchen wizard scratchers.
It's hard. I realized that a lot of the shapes, I kind of don't like where they were falling. I got the shapes, I kind of felt them. I want to do more gestures, that kind of stuff. But another warm-up exercise you can do to prepare for drawing a face or anything is blind contour drawings. So contour drawings is when you kind of just draw like the major lines. You don't really worry about shading or anything. You convey shading, usually things with the thickness of the line and the weight of the line. And blind means you don't look at your paper while you do it. So you just sort of like end up making a map of how your eye is working through the image, and you can see where you get kind of caught, where you sort of put things too close together. But you don't look at your hand or your paper, and you just kind of do it. And it's always creates a cool aesthetic, even when you're like, this is a weird monster.
And it forces you to like be, this is horrible, it's horrible. Oh, this looks interesting. In the end, may I move this over just a second so I can do a quick blocking of shapes that I would see as an example?
Yeah, if you want to move it this way. You can keep it there.
Cool. So similar to how we did anatomy before, I'm going to do a little breakdown of the face. Coldrake talked about the circle, breakdown the quadrants, and why it is cool to know where those lines go, but it's not when the actual execution when you're drawing the face isn't always going to help you. So, what are the things that I see here? How would I break this down? So for me, the weight is this side and then this side. I would probably, again, do a circle for most of the skull. And I think that's always an important foundation. You can do, I always do like a front side to kind of get an idea of where the face is going. I'll always do a brow. So this is one of the first things that you will always, one of the first shapes you block out is the brow. It's the expression that is kind of the core and the center of what human emotions come in. And so the other half is this shape right here. Like I like where this edge is and this plane goes, but it's more than that. So we'll start with that. And this shape will actually go here, up a little bit, and kind of continue there. Same with here. And we're gonna kind of leave it ended there. And then, so ears and eyes always kind of line up. So we're just gonna do that shape. Hilariously, the angle in which your ears point is the same angle in which your nose sits. That's a silly trick that I learned.
And your ears generally start the top
Right,
of your
yeah.
nose and end at the bottom
Mhm.
there.
Mm-hmm. So brow to ear. So I set up points again, points of reference. This is the plane that I really like seeing. I see the chin going up, and so we're gonna dissect some shapes. The nose definitely has a top edge, no matter how smooth or soft it winds up going. You will always want to kind of define where that bridge sits, and it makes it easier for later when you're gonna try and make a soft shape. It is always easier to make angled shapes and then smooth them out, and by doing that, you have these softer shapes with structure underneath. So we're gonna do that, and then the nose does a little weird little crop up and goes back in. And then we're gonna set this dark shape there for the rest of the nostril. And that. So that's gonna be the nose. And the nose will also do this weird triangle doorstop wedge thing this way. In reality, there's a shape here. We're just gonna do this line because that is kind of where it blends out. Oh, actually, we can do this line too. This is the nose, and this is the shape that cuts away from it. Eyes are fascinating. So how do you deal with skin covering orbs in your body when only part of them stick out of your skull, right? So a lot of times people will just we'll just draw a circle with your eye, and it's not necessarily as helpful. So we're gonna simplify it into an edge again. So there's an edge kind of right here where the highlight goes. So kind of following where this line is, I'm gonna draw bloop. Draw, kind of trying to describe how eyelids actually work. They're super weird cheese wheels that are barely sticking out of your eyes.
Yeah.
So kind of like they're just little discs that are sitting in your face. Is kind of the best way to describe how eyelids and eyes work. That's like the most simplified way that you can draw eyes. And so we're gonna find that, and it kind of. And then we can figure out eyes from there. But cheese wheels stuck in your eyes. It's just a more approachable thing to draw, maybe. It makes it less scary, makes it less human, whatever it takes to make people more easy to draw. And I always just struggle with this opposing side of faces. So what I normally do, when I have this brow set up, I draw the connection between the nose, what pushes in and comes back out. So there's like a little angle right here, and we're going to continue that shading that goes all the way there. Again, with the cheese wheel in the eye. And there you go. So human eyes. It also helps to do a cheese wheel because then you can get this nice insert that's happening here and not lose the fact that there are circles there, that there are full spheres there. And so it helps you keep the shape here so you can make the cheek muscle there. It's just a lot of like shortcuts, right? Like make light, work smarter, not harder. And so we're just gonna black this out really quick because I like these shapes. And then mouth. So mouth, same thing. Mouth is like similar to the cheese wheel. Actually, no, it is. Do you usually draw it as like a rounded like tube? Because it depends, because you can either have like the shape or you can have just a rounded tube. Right? It kind of depends.
It also really depends on the person's face. And one of the biggest things I see with a lot of drawing books is they definitely assume that you're drawing mostly like white faces.
That is great. I love it.
Yeah, so I love this too.
Sorry, we're gonna focus this in really quick and do this little close up of just these lovely contour drawings. I love them.
So what I'm seeing here is like this line here is not very long from under his eye to where the nose is coming in, but it's really, this nose is so beautiful. This angle, like I just love this V shape that's happening.
Yeah.
And I was like, this guy is so pretty. And I just am elongating his nose to be much, much longer than it actually is. But I still want to capture the ways in which it looks very stately and really like takes up space on his face in a really, really interesting way. So I'm having to realize that I'm making this line way too long. I can see that in all of the drawings that I'm doing. And then it ends up making his eyes look much closer together when I recognize that and I'm trying to account for that.
That's really cool. That's super cool.
I like noses.
A lot of personality in there. I really like this face. It's so good. I love it.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Yeah, really blind contour drawing where you don't look at your hand and you just draw and you can't see what you're doing is really fun. It always creates a cool aesthetic.
It also breaks, like, it helps you create the connection between eye and hand, but also shows you kind of where your brain is, where you're making stuff up, right? Where your mind is going, this is how it actually looks. I'm like, no, you're wrong, brain.
Yeah.
You're wrong 80% of the time.
Yeah. I did get the eyes kind of parallel to each other.
Yeah, no, that was
Yeah.
really good.
And
I like this portion right here. Like, I genuinely find this so intriguing.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fleshy grape covers, yes. Hey, when they're less scary to deal with, they become easier to draw. So, doorstop feet and hands that are just squares and wedges. It helps a ton, makes hands less hard. Go back there.
Okay, I missed a question. Someone asked about a Riley method, but I don't know the Riley method.
Kitchen warlocks, kitchen bards, dog thieves, and kitchen rogues. So I think that it's kitchen wizard or scratchers is the term for people who tattoo at home and not officially or in any official capacity. It's different from stick. It was kind of stick and poke too. There's that entire thing because like a lot of the stick and poke, they just tell you like you're just gonna scratch your skin with this needle and hope the ink stays in. But tearing apart your skin while trying to leave ink in it doesn't lead for a good healing process or good ink retention. So when you do stick and poke, you gotta stick and poke. Don't drag your needle across like that. I think in logic, maybe not in practice, in logic it doesn't sound great. Just not, it's not fun. I don't like stick and pokes are cool, and I think people can accomplish really cool things with stick and poke, and it's really great. Personally, I don't want to sit there for an hour, for like 3 hours, and what I could get done in a half hour. But that's just me. I just need to cover bigger real estate. Yeah, I've heard some people say that you should just be, you poke the line and then you kind of drag it across, and I'm like, that's just scarring. Maybe I've heard wrong, and maybe that person was not right. But I've never, like, I did a stick and poke on my ankle, sort of, and it's like all these little tiny dots, and it's really cute, but it's really weird poking your own skin to draw on it. It is a very weird thing that you have to fight. It sucks. So true about drawing a default face. My digital painting class I took for CGMA. Biggest criticism was that they did not go over anything outside of the default white. Yeah, no discussion of the fat and monolid, how to account for painting darker skin. Yeah, we never learned about how lighting and contrast and color matters.
Yeah. Learned a lot about how to draw really like waifish young women.
Yeah.
With like perfect perky boobs. Like that's pretty much the kind where like they can lie down and somehow it doesn't change and you're just like, what magic is this?
Clearly, these are not made of water. So, simplified form of just like the mouth in general, the meaty bits, is kind of this shape, and from there I think via a lot of studying and just so much practice, you just learn to bend in and out of it, and like that these guidelines they're guidelines and that you need to be drawing out and around them versus drawing within them, I think is something that you have to fight a lot, and like learning, being comfortable with this is out of that line, like your body's like, oh no, like this is wrong, you drew out of the line, but it's actually okay. Like, that's where it's supposed to belong this entire time. That's where it always goes. And continuing from here, there's a lot of, I like all the things that go on here. I'm sorry if I'm shaking the table. Just gonna cover big swatches of shadow and be unafraid of the results. Like, I don't even know if this is the right amount, but we're just gonna keep going. Shading is here. This is the pass that will allow me to figure out what I'm doing in the next final drawing.
I also keep making
gosh.
this man look like he has much more of an underbite than I think he does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, this
I
is
think it's
chin
because I just want his
coming-
face to keep going.
Ye-
Just forever. It becomes a river.
It is also because like the shape of that jawline is really hard to see, right? Because there's just so much of this going on, and where the jaw's actually in there, kind of. And so that's kind of something to like. That's where anatomy helps, like knowing where things are supposed to go, so you can understand how this is supposed to function, right? And keeping
if I
this
were
reined in.
doing this as like aiming for this to be like a finished professional piece, I would do this reductive. I would draw the whole thing black and then take away as a way to get it, because it's easier to build up the forms with light rather than shading when there's so much dark happening.
Okay, wait, how do I get those perfect boobs? Wait, no, don't answer. I actually don't want to know the answer.
Perky bees, yes. Gosh, and then a lot of like websites that'll have figure drawing examples. You can get some variety in shape, but it's not that much. It's very hard to get that. And then it's also hard when you watch a lot of anime, because if I don't have a reference in my brain, everybody has just ridiculously long legs and huge heads, and I'm like, that's not what people look like, and I know that, but I can't say everyone's an anime character when I try to draw without a reference.
Yeah, and like one of the more valuable things that I learned from like my monster drawing art professor / human anatomy professor is that, you know, learning the rules helps you break them, but you still need to know what they are so that you can have something to go off of, so that people can have a place to start, right? And the rules to break is it's like break them all, or break some of them, or use them to express different things, or express them via using this one rule. There's like a multitude of ways to explore it. Style is fun. Like, style is good. It's important to keep and know your style, but it's also important to have the rules and knowing how to play with them. Alita, I have mixed feelings. I don't know. Maybe I'll see it. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the extended version. Would it be cool if we all look like chippies, though? I don't know, Void Smoker. Those eyes, I would just be lost forever in the great abyss, the great chippy abyss.
We'd be a lot less intelligent as a species. I mean, okay.
Look at pugs.
And no, owls. Like owls, they have massive eyes relative to the size of their brain.
Oh, yeah, they do.
And that means a lot more to process all that visual information. Like, we have a big advantage because our brain makes a lot of approximations. That's one of the reasons why it's often hard to draw what you're seeing, because our brain spends most of its time just being like, I only need the essential bits of information, like how not to run into things. Even though it's not always that good at that, at least in my case. You know, so we actually don't process massive quantities of the sensory data that we're getting. That would take too long. That would be completely inefficient. And with these
big chippy eyes.
Yeah, but with like predators, like birds of prey, that need to have really intense visual acuity to see this very small creatures from a big distance to really get this advantage, they made sacrifices to make it so that more brain was used for visual processing to make it more efficient and get that higher quality. So if we had really, really big eyes like that, we
sacrificed brain power for it.
Yeah, we wouldn't have
Fascinating.
anime, probably.
Oh no, don't take away anime.
So basically, we shouldn't have anime eyes, because then we get to have anime.
So it's a lose-lose situation.
Well, I mean, I love anime, so I want it. Okay.
So I'm reapproaching the sketch that I laid out with the very intense shadows with this lighter gray pen. I'm going to set the groundwork for what I'm going to do later, and this way, even with this gray pen, I can work around it and build off of it, because I'm actually going to overlay this with shadow. That I already know. So I'm going to make some space for this eye right here. This is not going well yet, but it's fine. It's fine, because we're just going to go with it.
I like that we picked, like, the most challenging face. We both were
All
just like,
faces are
yeah.
really challenging. Like, this is beautiful. Let's try it. Oh, no. This is like a mildly terrifying place to be in because nothing looks right. I'm human, and I know what humans are supposed to look like, and they don't look like this! It's fine. Soldier on, and something will happen. Oh god, I googled Alita, and that is horrifying. Yeah, and the worst part is it's only her. That's the problem I have with it. Give everybody big eyes, or don't at all. God damn it. Sorry, I put my feelings away. I love reading the manga that I read. Don't put them away. That's how they run. Because they'll just fall on the ground and get everywhere again. I love to understand what I do. Oh, POC tropes. No, Kira, that's disappointing. I'm gritty. I hate being oh. You used to be ambidextrous? That's super cool. I can't do anything regular with my left hand. It's amazing that you used to be ambidextrous. It's really cool. Like moving towards larger eyes. That's still weird. Big. Oh, Noctuvia. Ha 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 ha. You're right, but also well done. If you're left-handed, you're in your right mind. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like, okay. You can go home now. You paid the price. You paid the fee. Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.
Oof.
It was real hard.
This guy's face is very hard.
It's also like, he's so beautiful, and I'm just like, oh no! This isn't beautiful. What is happening? Why is this wrong? And so, like...
I made an alien. Look at this alien head. Look at the size of his skull compared.
It's like one of those deep sea eye fishes.
Yeah. And for some reason, I can't draw him doing anything other than looking up a little bit.
I love this.
Yeah. I thought about going into this kind of drawing as like my whole thing, because I'm like, I do this well, because you can't tell if it's supposed to be something else.
I like it. Yeah, he's really nice edges. Also talking about like how I think you talk about building things from negative space. Drawing as if you are cutting things away with the sword is also a very fun way to explore shapes and planes and helps with the contour hatching. To be frank, I've never read Battlelita, so I have no prior reference. All I see is, oh dear lord, she has anime eyes. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to choose to emulate the anime style, but to have it only on one character is really weird. It's also weirdly, like, it's weird when it's the main character who's a female. It's just weird to do that, I think. It makes you uncomfortable in a lot of ways. You can play the ukulele backwards? Please do that. I don't even know if it's true. Just try it. Please please do it. Okay, we're gonna keep committing. This is uncomfortable, but we're gonna commit.
Yeah.
And eventually something nice will happen. That's what I've learned. Thank you for the time check. So we're gonna keep working out some little more details, and we're gonna be wrapping up at around 45.
We get a new table.
Guys, we're getting a new table, y'all. Alright, so this nose thing was me going, I guess this works. Part of this is from a lot of practice because I just know in my mind that noses are actually shaped like this. That's it. Like, that is literally the only reason why a lot of this seems like, wow, how does Steph draw this and why does it look so easy? Is I literally draw it all the time.
Yeah.
You just start to memorize shapes. Sometimes they're not really good memories or like they're not always going to be perfectly correct, but the general gist of that shape and what it makes you feel becomes memorized. That's the reason why references are important, why studying is important, but also like knowing your style and what you find interesting, for example, about a shape is how you're going to learn to define it and learn how to shade it out. And with noses, like I love the bridge, and then I really love this meaty part that happens right before the nostrils. I love that meaty bit. And so I've always just kind of drawn it and played with these shapes, and that is the reason why this is just, I just know this is the shape. It's just practice. It's just like a lot of muscle, and you know, it's like, oh, there's talent, but it's like, I practice, I drew a lot of faces. I drew a lot of bad faces. Yo, I drew a lot of bad faces in order to get here. Same with mouths. Mouths are hard because they're just like so meaty and so weird. So we're gonna draw kind of where it splits. And then we're gonna do the wonderful lips. And the dip that I have here in the middle is actually going to be farther in than where the actual crest of the lip is, just from previous experience. And then we're just going to do a little shading there, and a little shading here. I've always also struggled with the portions of the chin. And so if you look back on the shadow study that I did, I made this line here. I didn't fully shade it because I wanted to remember that there was a bunch of flesh and muscles that happen here, and this is the defining line for it. To me, this is the way that I will remember and know, and lets me focus in on that detail and remember that it's there and not forget to include it. And I'm going to do that line again. I like that hard line, so we're going to keep it there for a little bit. And instead of wasting a lot of this gray to do the black, I'm going to instead reach up and shade this in again. Hatched in a little more towards that nice clean edge that we all have agreed is ridiculously attractive. And then go this way. Connect there, and I'm going to do a bit of this hatching to go up part of the socket and connect in here and follow the meaty sections of the eye. Send a link to the picture you're drawing? Yeah, I can totally send this. I'll upload it. I'll send it to the Discord for sure. Also, I just searched portrait reference. Was that what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a good one. I searched portrait reference, and it is one of the few entries farther down right there. So that is also another fun search. But yes, I will link this image to the Discord for sure. Oh, I did not know that there was
Fat tip.
that fat tip. That would have been nicer. It's fine. You know what? We're gonna make big choices right now. And I feel really special. It's fine. So I'm gonna define the front of the forehead right here. As you've seen, I laid in some strokes earlier crossways, but I'm instead going to focus on the motion of the forehead itself, because as I defined here in this plane, there's a shift in which everything on this side of this edge is facing down, whereas everything else up here curves around the face. That I only know because I had a really good human anatomy teacher. Taught me how to see things. Do a little bit of that gray lining right here. Oh my god, this is like my favorite thing. Big markers too are really fun. Draw big, use big tools to relax and loosen up with, just because it just works amazing things. We're gonna do a bit of line work before we sign off. So I'm gonna redefine these shapes right here. Let's do that. I'm gonna definitely define the lips a little bit, but not. Let's see. I guess we're gonna do that. I'm gonna do a little bit of cross hatching around it, and for sure the edge, because that edge dough. Great. Leave it kind of around because cheeks are fleshy. That's how it goes. I'm going to define the edge of this lip right here, but it's not, I'm not going to draw the actual lip. It's an edge that will help define the shading that is happening underneath. Do that. I'm just going to take the pen, and we're just going to do some big stuff. Huh?
We got a donation.
Holy shit!
Whoa!
Let me, maybe? Can
Oh wow, it is very small.
I got this.
My eyes are not good enough for that.
Bear with me. Where's the keyboard?
Oh no. Anna's looking for the keyboard. I thought she was running this. Is she running this?
Look at that.
A what? Oh.
Top one.
Bright Tuck? Bright Tuck?
Be right UK.
Oh, Be Right UK.
Be right, UK.
Be Right UK. Cute. $25. Here's something towards the channel goal. Thank you so much!
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for joining us and donating. All of it will go a long way in keeping us around, making more fun content for all of you. Honestly, I just enjoy hanging out with you. This has been really nice.
Yeah.
I also get to face performance anxiety and just like, oh yeah, no, people do like hearing me talk and I'm a likable person. This is also very affirming.
Steph, I learned
What?
so much from this show just by being here.
Oh, yay!
Legit,
Thank you!
say so many things that I'm like, I need to remember that later when I am not running around doing work.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm sitting and drawing.
Thank you. You know, I threw like $100,000 at education. I might as well share it. Also, that's the other thing. Freaking share stuff. It's worth it. People who are passionate and love the things that you do, like, heck yeah. This is stuff that I enjoy doing, and it's scary, and it is scary, but it is so worth it to tackle it, and there's so much joy hidden away in drawing that it is so worth it.
Una más.
Oh no, hold on, let me draw here! I also love drawing with brush pens because it's all on the wrists, and like being able to just go from this thin line to like big swoopy line is really fun. Kira, $10. Thank you so much. I'm glad there's an artist community on here. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for joining us and like being in chat. It was really cool. It was nice chatting with ya. It was so good to chat with ya. And then I think one of the important things I want to do is this line right in the fold of his skin. And then we'll do the cheeks. So I'm going to do big brush strokes because these edges are very lovely and organic. Get over here. Get over here. Hey guys, we have a special guest.
Woo.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's
What are
great.
you
We're drawing people.
Who are these people?
Human.
face.
It's human.
Are you doing any chiaroscuro shading?
Chiaroscuro shading.
It's an old.
Tell me about it.
Strong bad email joke.
Oh.
Oh.
That's really good. Look at the skull.
Isn't it amazing? Auntie Slane's great.
I had fun.
That's super good.
Also, I'm so in love with this.
Yeah.
I just love it. I love it so much.
Blind contour drawing.
That's super rad.
Okay.
How's it going?
It's great.
I brought a surprise today that
Yeah?
everyone will get to see
Yeah.
later.
Ah.
Later.
Later. Aw.
I don't know how much of a surprise it is since we've all been posting it all over the internet.
I know. It's sitting in my vehicle right now, waiting.
Oh yes, I'm so excited.
I'm excited. I'm so excited. I'm so very excited.
Ice Bunny wants to know what markers you're using.
So I was shading with the Winsor Newton, which is also a really amazing brand, Pro Marker. You can see it in the close-up camera.
Winton is
Winton.
their discount line.
Oh, Winton, yeah.
So Winton is really good. it's if you want to get a feel for the way these products are and don't necessarily need archival quality stuff.
Yeah. They have a
LinkedIn is
really
fine.
good. I like experimenting. Like watercolor is amazing too. Like they make good stuff. I was using Sharpie, and then this is the brush pen that I enjoy using. It's so very glossy. I don't know if you can read it. Faber-Castell big brush pen. It's with a giant B. I love this thing. This thing makes me like.
And
go
if you're really
bonkers.
cheap like me, you can take Sharpies and then use an X-Acto knife and cut a shape into it so you can get a
Yeah.
different shape.
Cheap, I think ingenious.
No, I'm just cheap.
No, that's genius. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna go unload things because it's gonna be a
I'm
fun.
excited. We're gonna be
haul
wrapping
in.
up soon. So.
Yeah, but I just want to say hi. Hi.
Yeah,
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Cool.
I'm gonna go help if that's okay, Steph, which means that you'll need to have a couple minutes talk before.
Okay.
Like I'm going to go help.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Whatever.
So
Just
you'll
hang
have
on.
to
Keep
wait
drawing.
for me to come back to be able to actually. shut
Sure.
down the
Yeah.
screen.
That's fine. That's fine. I want some more people joining us. That's fine. So it just only means I can keep drawing this handsome man, this beautiful, beautiful man.
that handsome man.
Also, if anybody donates, I'm sorry I won't be able to see it, but I love you
Yeah,
all. Thank you so
sorry.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah. How are you feeling now?
Me?
Yeah.
This is good. It wasn't as scary as I thought it was gonna be.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh man.
Getting these shadows is hard.
I like the soft shapes that you these curves are very beautiful.
Yeah,
I like them.
gave him pug eyes though, and his eyes are really graceful.
Mhm.
And
Made his a little too high up and a little too weird. It's okay. I like what I did here more than it's up there. Because so I think also part of it, like I'm being too hard on myself. I did this as a structured piece versus the I'm gonna blob it out and use ink. So this is based around what I know about the human's face, where the planes are, and I set up these shapes to be more structured and more like less mush and more structured. And so I don't get to be hard on myself for that. Very easy to be hard on yourself.
it is.
You should have never seen from the Renaissance. I bet yes, it's so beautiful. Oh, they light things so well from the Renaissance. That's about it.
Yeah. But I enjoyed this. This was good. Good time. I just like getting to do faces again.
Mm-hmm.
They're so cool. I just want to like do them justice. And so a lot of the time I'm just like, well, like hands and stuff, I love hands, but I'm less worried about not doing hands justice than I am someone's face.
Yeah.
And I think that also makes it harder.
Also, it's like, as humans, it's the thing we see and we recognize, and you immediately will always know. Like, the same way that you see faces in toast is the same reason why when you look at this, you're like, it's not really a face. I know it's
Right.
wrong.
And then, but we also have so many, like, approximations of faces in our brains already. Like, much more than we do, I think, any other object that we look at or part of the body. We all just spend so much time interacting with faces. So I think that's one of the reasons why they tend to be so notoriously difficult, because there's a lot more, like, bias to get over.
Yeah. More things to fight. Would you like to, I think we're going to wrap up.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for joining us. This was really fun. I love being able to put into, like, trying to teach things because it means I have to think about stuff that comes very natural to me and how I get there. So it's been very lovely. Hello, Anna.
Sorry, I'm gonna barge in for a good cause though. At the end of this stream, I'm gonna use the raid function to go to Latinx in games. Our good friend Strix is over there, and she's raising money for the Hispanic Scholarship Fund. I don't know why I keep struggling with that name. It's not a difficult one, but yet something about anyway. So we're gonna use the raid function. She's only gonna be live for like another 15 minutes, but if we
Drop
can
in
go
some
over there,
support.
show her some support, that would be great.
She's amazing.
Yes.
Okay, now I'll let you do you.
So thank you for joining us. I'm Steph, she, her. You can find me at Steph Junkie on the interwebs. Check out my Patreon. I'm going to have a print shop up soon. So follow me on Twitter. That's where I put a lot of my info.
I am Aria. You can find me at Genki Soda on Twitter. I like to rant things, and maybe we'll post art sometime. And all pronouns are cool for me. I loved being here.
Also, if you did any drawings or sketches, or if you keep doing drawings, post it on the Inklings channel, on our Discord channel. I would love to see art. It always makes me really, really happy. It genuinely does. Like, I just like seeing people make stuff. And it's always great. There's always something good there. So, Feel free to share if you feel like it. I would love to see it. Have a great night. Say hi to Strix.
Say hi to
We're gonna do raid.
Strix.
We're gonna do raid. Raid. I've never done a raid, so I don't. We're gonna buy some time, get some hyped up, and go. Be nice. Don't spam.